Justin has requested me on Patreon to review the Disney movie Holes, which among the studio's crop of live-action family films, I think stands as one of their best ones. I did see this movie in theaters in its original release and remain impressed with what the filmmakers accomplished. Although this is also one of those cases where it could have wound up very differently, as Richard Kelly was originally hired to write the screenplay, and this was even before he directed Donnie Darko. He turned in a draft that was very adult and about a post-nuclear fallout, very different from Louis Sachar's book. The producers took one look at his script, went, "What is this?" And the director, Andrew Davis, chose to have Sachar write the screenplay himself. It's such a fascinating behind-the-scenes story, though, and if you're interested in hearing what exactly was in Kelly's script that befuddled the producers, Pan Pizza did a whole video about it. Like I said, I think Holes is a great movie and one that does an exceptional job of telling this story. With its several characters and multiple flashbacks, the filmmakers had to make sure they all felt developed and connect seamlessly, and they absolutely pulled it off. Stanley Yelnats IV is a sympathetic protagonist thrust into the situation for reasons beyond his control and largely attributed to a curse that has affected his family. The thing is, Stanley probably had an alibi and could easily prove he did not steal the sneakers he was accused of taking. But in addition to the family curse affecting things, something that hit me on this viewing is maybe the judge who sentenced him was in cahoots with a warden at the camp. It explains him being aware of the sudden opening at the camp, and it fits with the film's commentary on prison corruption. The film shows Stanley having to cope with being sent to Camp Green Lake and getting to know the other youngsters already there. What's great is that each one of the prisoners he befriends are given distinct, memorable personalities, and his friendship with them evolves in different ways. Shia LaBeouf is great as Stanley, showing what promise he had as an actor. In fact, Steven Spielberg was introduced to LaBeouf when he watched Holes with his children, and it's easy to see why he was so impressed with his performance to the point of wanting to work with him. Then you have the villains, who are also given dimension, rather than being reduced to simple mustache-twirling baddies. They're all unlikable for the way they treat these miners and use them for manual labor under the guise of building character, but there's more to them than just being evil. It helps that all three of the actors turn in great performances, especially Sigourney Weaver as the warden. The flashbacks are extremely well implemented. Under the wrong execution, they could have interrupted the main narrative and taken away from the central story. However, they are inserted into the right spots and cleverly connect to the present-day scenes. The flashbacks involving a schoolteacher who becomes an outlaw and her doomed romance are especially good. Patricia Arquette and Dula Hill have really sweet chemistry, and the film does not shy away from depicting the racism of the time period. It's admirable Disney allowed the filmmakers to tackle these heavy themes in a family film, and the storyline is so compelling it could have been its own movie. Stanley's ancestor also gets a flashback explaining how the curse got started, and this plays a pivotal role in how the story develops. Watching the movie, there are a lot of coincidences as all these characters with some connection with each other somehow managed to come together. In another film, it might have seemed silly and contrived, yet Holes pulls it off thanks to how well Louis Sachar strings these coincidences together. It also fits with a central theme in the movie about destiny, which is even spelled out in the dialogue. This is something that could have wound up corny and ham-fisted, but again, Holes somehow avoids that. Sachar obviously deserves a lot of credit for that, but Andrew Davis also directed the movie extremely well. It was a bit of a departure for Davis, whose filmography mostly consists of thrillers and action movies, most famously The Fugitive. However, he showed he could also direct a family film, and it's surprising that, outside of a documentary, he has not directed a movie since The Guardian in 2006. I found an interview with Davis where he explained that he just did not like the scripts he was being offered, and the projects he wanted to personally make never got the green light. One movie he was particularly keen on making was a modern-day adaptation of Treasure Island set in Louisiana, which he described as similar to Holes. Something I realized on this viewing of Holes is that it's basically like a family-friendly version of The Shawshank Redemption, and I mean that as the highest compliment. Both films, of course, focus on a main character accused of and imprisoned for a crime he did not commit, taking a while to become accepted within the culture there until he eventually makes friends. Thus, we have a sense of the community in both prisons, as well as the few inmates he does not get along with. Meanwhile, the warden and other people running the prison are shown to be corrupt and having ulterior motives for their actions. There's a theme of hope running throughout Holes and The Shawshank Redemption, and how despite everything that happens, both Stanley and Andy Dufresne continue to persevere and attempt to outsmart those in charge. And then there's the way rain symbolizes freedom for the inmates, with pivotal scenes of characters taking in the rain. Noticing these parallels only enhances my appreciation of Holes, and what continues to make it a film worth revisiting, and why this movie continues to resonate with anyone of any age. Overall, this is an intelligent and well thought out script, expertly directed by Andrew Davis. Now, if you've seen Holes, let me know your thoughts in the comments, and thanks for the request, Justin.